Hello and welcome to this FiOS One News special presentation, OprahOn, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. I'm Mike Gilliam. People are talking about Oprah Winfrey and her work as an actress again. Her new HBO film deals with race, medical research, and the African-American family. Critics are giving it the thumbs up. I sat down with the queen of all media at a Midtown hotel to talk about her latest project.
Everybody come around, make money off our mama sales, but I don't care nothing about that. What I care about is knowing about my mother.
The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks is an adaptation of a true story that sizzles and at times seems to jump off the screen. Academy Award-nominated Oprah Winfrey stars as Lacks' daughter, Deborah.
I think, the person that would be the most proud on this day would be Deborah Lacks herself. I think this is exactly what she wanted, because as she states in the film, or as I state for her in the film, I didn't care nothing about anything other than my mama and my sister and themselves. She wanted to know what happened. So for her, the story has now been told.
The story is set in Baltimore, and a lot of it takes place at Johns Hopkins Hospital back in the 1950s. Henrietta Lacks developed cervical cancer, and according to the movie, cancerous cells were removed from her body but lived on. The strain of cells became immortal, but her name was removed from the samples, and just the first two letters were used, renaming them HeLa cells, with no one acknowledging they were from an African-American woman who all family members say didn't donate them.
Everyone's saying Henrietta Lacks donated themselves. They took them and didn't ask.
Henrietta Lacks died in 1951, but the cells have been used in research to help cure polio and treat cancers and HIV. They've helped create other vaccinations and to develop in vitro fertilization. Author Rebecca Skloot says they've touched everyone in the world, but while they've helped to create the biomedical field, which has made billions of dollars, the family hasn't made a dime.
Oh, I definitely think that the family's grievance about not having received any compensation for the cells is a very valid one.
You worked in Baltimore for many years. Did you ever know of this story when you were there?
No, Mike, this is the reason why I felt so compelled to tell the story, because I was a reporter in Baltimore from 1976 to 1983. I covered everything. I was a general assignment reporter, I was the anchor, I was the noon anchor, I was a talk show, I was in the community, I went to church, I did everything. I had never, in all of that time, heard one story about either the HeLa cells, I've been to Johns Hopkins many times, or Henrietta Lacks. So I thought, after reading the book in 2010, if I don't know about this woman, I'm sure that there are many other people who don't, and I think it's a story worth telling.
Okay. How did you first find out about it?
I have a production company, Harpo Films, and we're always reading whatever is the latest great book, and particularly stories that have African-American characters. And so it came to me through someone in my office because it was a story about an African-American woman. So I read almost everything that has anything to do with African-American stories.
The story is a special one. The book was on the New York Times bestseller list for 75 weeks. Australian actress Rose Byrne played the author, Rebecca Skloot.
She's a force of nature, is what you should know. She is dogged and brilliant and, only with someone that, with the determination she had, could have achieved finishing this book, which is very challenging and complicated and in many different ways. So she's really a force of nature. You don't want to get in her way.
There are scenes in the film between Oprah and Byrne that are extremely tense. Here, Deborah Lacks questions Rebecca Skloot's motivation for writing the book and how her work is funded.
So let's talk about this book you want to write, which is all fine and good, but where's the funding in there for the family?
I don't have any funding.
And you ain't offered none neither.
I can't offer you something that I don't have. I told you I want to start that foundation.
Where is it?
Where's what?
The book.
What?
You said you turned it in, so where is the book?
There's no book yet.
Where is the book? I said, where is the book? Is it for sale already out there? And you're making money off of my family like everybody else? Where is the book?
Look, here. MasterCard, Visa, $2,000 past due. Travel expense report. I write cheesy articles to pay for our rooms and gas. Checking account. $87 in my checking account. Okay, Deborah, I swear to you, honest to God, no one's given me any money.
I'm portraying this young woman who's really at the end of her tether. If someone pushes you far enough, you're going to crack. And she did in that moment. But understandably, Deborah she'd been taken advantage of so many times that her paranoia just grew and grew and grew until she had to confront her about it.
Was it emotional for you actually doing this movie?
Was it emotional? Well, certainly there are a lot of scenes that required me to go to a place that I'd prefer not to, in terms of digging up old grievances, sadnesses, resentments, anger, a fierce longing, all that stuff. So yeah, pretty, I would say it was, I'd say it's pretty emotional, yeah.
We'll delve a little deeper into the making of The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, and we'll talk to some of the other cast members about the film and working with Oprah. Strong performances, both in front of and behind the camera, come together to create The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. Now, it started with a New York Times bestseller, but the director took a very good story and adapted it to make an even more compelling movie. The director, Tony Award winner George C. Wolfe.
That's really good. That was it. Not everybody has a parent whose cells have changed science, but everybody wants to know who they are, where they come from, and who made them.
Director George C. Wolfe won 2 Tony Awards for Angels in America and Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk on Broadway.
George C. Wolfe.
I know. National treasure. The national treasure that is George C. Wolfe.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Tell me about that, working with him.
Oh, he's marvelous. He's, a good friend of my husband Bobby's, and I just adore him. He loves actors, and he's a legend, He's this Tony Award-winning kind of heavyweight. He's great, and he's so passionate and so smart. I mean, just to be in the room with him and Oprah, talking about anything was such a privilege. I felt it was a privilege is the word.
In this project, even though she was thinking of having someone else play Deborah, Wolfe convinced Oprah to take the part herself.
Remember at that first time we talked and I didn't want to see you?
Yeah?
Who told you to go down to Clover?
And he adapted the storyline to a daughter in search of what happened to her mother.
It's really a film to watch and learn. It's emotionally really confronting and also ethically from the science of the film and the history of, the racial history in this country. It's a lot. There's a lot in there.
Wolfe brought in Courtney Vance to play attorney Sir Lloyd Caulfield.
I've known about George for years.
And you are?
And I'm a huge fan of all his work. He's a big picture person, but I had never worked with him before. So when he called me to do the reading of Lucky Guy with Tom Hanks, I jumped. And actually, that's not true. To do Lucky Guy for 6 months, I had to really debate about it. And I decided to jump in with him. And then I literally wrote down every word he said to try to find my character. And with his help, walked into a Tony. So after that, I knew whatever he asked me to do, I would do. So he called me. I was in the midst of flying back and forth to London with Tom Cruise's The Mummy, and he called me in the midst of that, and he said, "Courtney, I need you to come here to Atlanta to shoot Sir Keenan Cofield." And I said, but I'm about to fly to London. He said, it'll only take a day, Courtney, come on, come on. So I said, okay, George. And literally went to the hotel, tried on my wig. He said, yes, that one. And so I told me about the character, and we shot the next day.
The director's touch can be seen and felt throughout the film, especially in this emotional scene where, after a long, hard journey, Oprah gives a picture of their mother's cells to her angry brother, who has a drinking problem, Zucaria, played by Emmy winner Reg E. Cathy.
I can't think of anybody who deserves it more.
How about that scene where she gives you the picture? Oh, yeah. And you give something back to her?
It was one of the most fun things because it had come from just Oprah and I hanging around together, trying to be as intimate as we could without being actory.
And you gave her that kiss on the cheek?
Yeah. And then George said, we have to make it right. And so it was a delicate little balance of trying to get just the right kind of kiss. Because when I did it, I just did it. He was like, yes, but it has to be right. And so George was very meticulous and very, I like it, but it's not right. So how do we make it right? And it was the most fun. And it was late. It was a late night. It was hard. And I had come from South Carolina to do this that day. And it was, we were all tired and late. And it was a beautiful little thing that happened. It was so much fun.
Yeah. You worked quite a bit with Oprah in the film.
Yes.
Yeah. What was that like?
Oh, it was great. It was the most fun because she was, at first she said she was intimidated because I had just won the Emmy the year before. And I was like, me? Yeah, come on, don't, no. And, but someone who would take the time to think, how are you feeling? And she's, of course, a goddess. So when a goddess asks how you're feeling, yeah, it makes you feel good. So it was fabulous. We had a good time.
I got something inside of me. Henny, please don't tell me you have another baby with that man.
Oh, Gladys. What kind of thing? Cancer. And you know.
Henrietta Lacks is played by Renee Elise Goldsberry, who won a Tony for Hamilton. And while she didn't appear in scenes with Oprah, she says she was inspired by Oprah the actor.
It was wonderful. She gets things done, and she approached this role with such bravery. I mean, just being in the makeup and hair trailer with her, and just seeing how bravely she just let all of the Oprah that we know go to inhabit this woman, that really inspired me to do the same thing in this film.
Rocky Carroll, who you may know from the NCIS drama on CBS, pays Oprah perhaps the most simple but important compliment.
What was it like working with Oprah?
It's great. She was the ultimate collaborator. I was really impressed with how her ability to take all that is Oprah and condense it and just be a part of the cast.
Many say the Lacks family has suffered a great financial injustice, and that continues to be a hot and controversial topic. Oprah and cast members tell us if they think the family should be compensated for the so-called HeLa cells that have earned billions of dollars over the years. That's next. Well, the gains attributed to Henrietta Lacks cells have been nothing short of miraculous. But while most say everyone on the planet has benefited in some way, the family's been shut out. While companies have made billions, the Lacks haven't seen a payday. We asked Oprah and some of the cast about the controversy and what they think viewers should take away from the film.
This family's the only ones have made a dime off of their own mother's cells.
The HeLa cells, grown from the cells of Henrietta Lacks, have paved the way for huge medical breakthroughs and touched just about every person on the planet. But a part of the story is that the Lacks family, shown here, has never benefited. That's a sore spot for family members, and it was a constant thread throughout the film. It's an injustice Deborah Lacks spoke about numerous times in the movie.
Everybody talk about Henrietta Lacks. Everybody come around, make money off our mama sales, but I don't care nothing about that. What I care about is knowing about my mother.
The pharmaceutical and biomed companies have made billions of dollars. Oprah has said she believes the Lacks family does have an honest grievance.
I would be very upset if drug companies had made billions of dollars off of one of my family members' cells, particularly my mother's cells or my grandmother's cells, and I not have money to pay for, health care. So yeah, I think they should have been compensated at some point. But now the question is, who does that? Who is the person to do that? I don't feel that it's my responsibility to compensate them, nor HBO's responsibility. I feel that the grievance is a logical one. But I think that our job was to tell the story and to tell the story with as much integrity as possible. And that's exactly what we've done.
Oprah says Deborah Lacks came to the realization that the family would not be paid.
And she was never after the money. She was never after, because she knew she wasn't going to get the money. She knew that ship had sailed and they were not going to be able to get compensation.
For Rocky Carroll, the story touches on another reality concerning African Americans and health care years ago.
Well, as a member of the Lacks family, I think we were trying to convey that there was a story that extended beyond just the family, an American story, a story of the state of the medical profession back in 1951, and that although this is quite a medical marvel, Henrietta Lacks' story, it wasn't uncommon for people, and especially for people of color, to not have the access and not have the information. And this time predated WebMD, where you could go and self-diagnose and kind of have a sense of what may be wrong with you. In 1951, and especially I think for people of color, the person wearing the white coat, whatever they said was gospel. If they said you needed a procedure, that was what was needed to be done. If they said you needed to have a leg amputated, that was going to be done.
So what should the viewer take away from the immortal life of Henrietta Lacks?
It was ultimately a crime, I think. It was a crime against the family and against the people. The medical establishment. This woman was abused and used, and the stories about the family coming to grips with the crime and trying to gain their power back, and in a sense, at the same time, getting their lives and their mother back. That's what Oprah's character's journey is, to try to gain her and in doing that, gaining her sanity back, her sense of herself, because she missed her mom. In her early death, she missed her mother.
Are you glad you took on this role?
Absolutely. I'll do it again in a heartbeat.
I think it's important to remember that there is no thing that is so shameful or so terrible that can happen to us that it cannot somehow make us triumphant in some way in the end. I think that's a really important thing for us always to know with anything that attacks us, that there is another victorious side to any challenge, and I hope people take that away.
What should they take away? I want you to take away whatever you feel. You do a film, you put it out there in the world. It's just like writing a book. You put it out there in the world. You do your work, your story, you put it out there in the world, and I want you to take away however that thing hits you. So I can't predict, I did it because I wanted the story to be told. I thought, wow, this is fascinating that this was an African-American woman. Nobody's ever even heard of her. I want people to know who that was. I want them to know about her contribution and to know her family still exists. So, I don't know. I think for me, Mike, it says every story matters, and particularly your family story.
So that does it for us in our special presentation, OprahOn, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. Thanks for joining us. For FiOS 1 News, I'm Mike Gilliam.